Little Phasmid, little Phasmid. I want to tie your long antenna into bows. Why would you do that to the poor guy? Hello, Dakota. Good morning, Tara. Little stag, little stag. Your spiky pinchers are so sharp. They must feel so good. That's so terrifying. Why? Why, game? Whatever. I know nothing. Okay, let's get out of here. Hello, loner. So now that we have the money, which we needed, I just need a little more money. I think I'm agreeing with you, Tara. And we might be able to... Yep, okay. Where do I want to go? I want to go here. Hello, Boogity. Hello, Gashtar. And thank you very, very much for the sub. Much appreciate. Although you didn't tell me where you want to put it. So I'm afraid we're going to have to destroy you horribly. Platty, I order you to horribly destroy Gashtar. Unless Gashtar tells us where he wants the thing to go. Hey, dude. Hey, you're back. So, fella, I guess you liked the ride, huh? Not a bad bit of fantastification. The height of excitement. The thrill of launching to the heavens. The very peak of flying fantastification. Yeah, no. What? You got a cannon you want me to repair? Well, where is it? I can't repair it unless you bring it here. Let's do it. Wait, what? No, god dang it. That's not what I meant to do. I'm gonna have to, like, reset the zone. Hang on. I know what I'll do. I'm gonna teleport like 5 feet. That's what I'm gonna do. No, we're literally going to there. Boogity. I forgot to do this. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, wrong way. Still the wrong way. From old Auru, huh? I guess I had to do what the old coot says. Oasis flight, right? Here you go. One of our secret options not available to the general public. This time's all paid for. Remember, next time you gotta pay. There we go. Yeah, I'm actually not repairing. I actually completely forgot that all those rupees I was getting I don't actually need yet. I will need those later. Hello, April Jerk. Yeah, there's 2 times in this game where you get shot out of a cannon to a destination. The road's closed, Boogity. And the terrain is very strangely designed to make sure there's a frickin' cliff there. So welcome to the desert. It's much more interesting during the day. Notice again the giant chasms and cliffs and all that stuff. What's up? Before we go on, there's something I want you to hear. Yeah, what's up? Do you remember what the spirit said about the fused shadows? What do you think happened to the magic wielders who tried to rule the sacred realm? They were banished. They were chased across the sacred land of Hyrule and driven into another realm by the goddesses. It was another world entirely, the antithesis of Hyrule, where the sun shines bright. Its denizens became shadows that could not mingle with the light. Eventually, most came to call it the Twilight Realm, and from it, none could return to the world of light. They were forever doomed to live in the twilight, flitting in the half-light of dusk, mere shadows of Hyrule. This is the history of the Twilight as has been passed down from our ancestors. Do you now understand what I am? I'm a descendant of the tribe that was banished to the Twilight Realm. Well, okay. It was a peaceful place until Zant took control of the Twilight Realm and transformed all of the Twilight into shadow beasts. It's clear to me now he somehow gained a great evil power, previously unknown to our tribe. In any case, I was sent from there and can no longer get into the Twilight Realm without his power. But there's another tale told by my people. Though the goddesses forbade us to return to the world of light, they left one link between the light and the darkness. Something called the Mirror of Twilight was passed to the protectors of Hyrule. It's our only path to the Twilight Realm, and we must get there. You'll come with me, won't you? Yeah, I got your back. Believe it or not, this is actually my favorite version of the Gerudo Desert theme. Good morning, Bragwin. So I don't actually know what you're referencing, Loner, sorry. Yeah, these things can be a bit of a pain, to say the least. Ah. Sorry for rolling a lot here, but I think we're done now. I think I basically need to avoid those things. Okay. Let's grab this really quick while we're at it. I was just waiting for him to pop out naturally, and he's like, no, I'm just going to stay in here. Stupid thing. Like, they will pop out. They were doing it this whole time. Whatever. Not close enough. Don't think about it too much. We weigh very little. Hello, Shikor. This is a sneaking mission. Yeah, I've already given that negative. It is deserved. Moving on. Yeah, I think Kashtar just decided to bow out. I don't blame him. Who would want to stick around here, right? Come on, little Poe. Really? Well, the obvious answer, hyperspeed, is that it's not actually a bottomless chasm. By the way, once again, you can see Hyrule Castle from here. Just point it out. So, let's fix the bridge, finally. This is basically the last impediment to getting around easily in the entire game. I mean, Link can survive falling into a lava pit multiple times, too. There's kind of a degree of interpretation in between gameplay and story. How did it get there in the first place? Careful, careful. There you go. That totally physics. So now we can warp here. Debatable, Hateful Jerk? As I've said many times, the Zelda series has always been pretty dark. Although this is the only Zelda game to get a T for teen warning. Or ESRB rating, excuse me. Okay. We actually only have one other thing to do here. Give me just a moment. Just want to make sure I grab it now while I'm thinking about it. Do you mind? Can't do that puzzle yet, but that's not what I'm here for. There he is. I can see him from here. Yeah, I would say this and Majora's are the most obviously dark. For good or for bad, that's up to you, but both of them are not even remotely subtle about the darkness in the overall storytelling. Funnily enough, both are also the games that are most on drugs. I don't know if that's related or not, but it's interesting to think about. So, we've talked many times about how these reviews are subjective, because of course they are. Why wouldn't they be? There's no such thing as an objective review, right? Here's the thing, though. Obviously, there has to be a line between subjective and, you know, fair, basically. I only mention this because if this was a purely subjective review, which it's not, I would give this game a negative. Can you guess why? Of course you can, I just said why. It's not for this section. No, it's for the visuals. This game just looks too weird for me, and I don't care for that. There's simply too many sections where I'm just like, what the hell am I looking at? So now the best mount in the game. Sorry, Epona. A lot harder to steer than it looks, by the way. I know, right, Chico? I wonder if it was originally you're not supposed to steer, and then they just kind of decided to give it to you, because that would be really irritating if you couldn't steer at all. Hello, Pharaoh. I don't have much lore to talk about here. I've just been sitting here thinking, is there anything to share here? Obviously, this used to be the Gerudo Desert. I guess it still is the Gerudo Desert. This place has been a desert since Skyward Sword, which at this point is forever ago. Several trillion billion years ago. Favorite art style in the Zelda franchise? That's actually a tough one. Hang on, see if I can hit this shot. Booyah! Sorry. Sniping is weirdly satisfying in this game. Because your arrows technically have infinite range, so it's only really limited by how far the render radius is for a given zone. In other words, to put it in more English terms, you can shoot across the entire zone if you know what you're doing. Anyways, the favorite art style, I would have to say it's either Link to the Past, Link Between Worlds, or Wind Waker at this point in time. One of those. Yes, I appreciate the irony in saying that. Twilight Princess would be a much better... Actually, or Breath of the Wild, now that I'm thinking about it. Twilight Princess would be a lot higher. It's just... While I enjoy the... How do I phrase this? While I enjoy the graphics of Twilight Princess, I do not enjoy the specific design, mostly of people. Like, if you pay attention to the NPCs in this game, while they are certainly distinct, they're also weird. Really weird. I have Wilson, but I will talk about the absence of the Gerudo yet again. So, the canon explanation for the Gerudo's absence is they were banished, and then tried their very best to be friends with the people who banished them. I'm not making that up. That's real. Now, the reason for that, and the reason why I think that's so silly and stupid... By the way, you can actually sneak through here. I should mention that. I'm just not even bothering. The reason for that is because in Twilight Princess, there's basically no Gerudo. And when I say basically, I mean there is arguably no Gerudo, but there might be one Gerudo. However, in Four Swords Adventures, which they decided for reasons best left to the ancients that happens after this game, there's an entire tribe of Gerudo who are in fact on friendly terms. Nope. Can't even tell if that's an enemy. Who are on friendly terms with the Hyruleans. So they had to come up with some kind of canon explanation for why they went from not even being here to being chummy with the locals. So that's their explanation. They were banished, but then they're friendly. Sure. There's a dude up there. Hey, dude. So basically these guys continue spawning until you kill the lookouts. That's why there's a little cutscene each time we kill a lookout. In case you're wondering. As a quick aside, you'll notice we're fighting quite a few guys here. What's interesting is they went out of their way to make them have less health than most normal blins do. So you can kill them much quicker. Which is yet another good example of game design, by the way. I don't know, do you think we should have the boar meat? I'm not that hungry, but, I mean, boar meat sounds pretty good to me. What do you guys think? Should we get some boar meat? Nah, Puggity says we shouldn't get the boar meat. I agree, Puggity. Vegetarianism, ho. Ah, fine, we'll go and get it. This is, like, the grossest thing. So you just pull hearts out of it until you get a heart piece as you continue to hit it over and over. I guess it makes sense because it's supposed to be you healing, but I kind of prefer the Breath of the Wild. You're actually healing from, you know, eating the food approach. Oh no, it was an Akbar. Now, this is actually an interesting fight. He hits extremely hard with that weapon. Which makes sense. Notice his model is changing periodically as we keep going through this. It's the same guy, by the way, if that's not obvious. There's a few ways to beat him. This always just amuses me, sorry. So, that's why he hits extremely hard, because it's pretty easy to avoid that attack. Look at that. Oh yeah, by the way, he's really weak to that. If you happen to have gotten that by this point. Also, notice you get iframes for it. I'm actually glad I pulled that off. By the way, when they're doing speedruns of this fight, usually by the time they're at this fight, he will literally one-shot them. So, that's always fun. He's pretty easy to dodge, but if you screw up at all... Okay, how's the dripping wax work? Remedysection. Well, since I can't beat you, I'll just kinda... set the whole place on fire! Notice how they basically tutorialized the fact that you can burst through things with the boar already? Oh yeah, by the way, if you stay too long, you do die, in case you're wondering. You just... I don't actually know what the timer is. It's pretty generous. Oh, gotcha, Remedy's accent. You meant... Yeah, that makes sense. I thought you meant in lore. Who's a good boar? Pat, 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 pat. So, this is probably my second favorite dungeon of the game. Sorry, I don't remember if there's anything over here. So I'm just checking really quick. Nope, okay. While we're here. Yeah, unfortunately, this... I've gone on record before saying this is my favorite Zelda item. I have to add a big asterisk to that, because it's only my favorite Zelda item in this dungeon. It's basically useless anywhere else, and it shouldn't be. However, they did take this idea and carry it forward into the shield sliding in Breath of the Wild, so at least something good came out of it. So welcome to the Arbiter grounds. Once upon a time, this was a... I don't want to say a dungeon, even though it kind of was. This is where the sages of the era immediately following Ocarina of Time cast judgment on everyone. This is where they both judged and sentenced people for their crimes. I should probably also say this is where most of those crimes were carried out, too. It's probably worth noting that, you know, they mentioned how... Whoop! Nope, nope, nope. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Okay, we're okay, we're okay. That was actually really close. So what happened there was I got stuck in lock-on, and you can't climb up a ledge when you're in lock-on. And if you stay in the sand too long... no, Boogity. These are the sages after Ocarina. Or the sages that are the ones from Ocarina, depending on how you define it. Yeah, I know, I know. Vagueness problems. There we go. A lot of undead in here, by the way. Just kind of as a heads up. Deal with that problem really quick. So, except for, I think, Ruto? So here's the problem. Depending on how you define things... You know what? I'll save the discussion for later. Because there's a cutscene that plays later. Or I guess we can talk about it. Okay. Here's the problem. I mentioned before how the sages are... It's not like... There we go. It's not like you're a sage and... So, okay, you're born a sage. God, this is so irritating to explain. You're born a sage, but then you manifest as being a sage. In short, until you manifest as a sage, you're not really a sage. You just have the potential to be a sage. Here's my favorite part about this dungeon, by the way. This creeped out my sister so much. And definitely not me. Do you see them coming? That's the wrong button. They do flee from fire. As you can see, fire will just keep them away like that. There's no way to kill those, by the way. Just avoid them. So far, we've had undead and bugs as our encounters for this place. It gets worse. Anyways, speaking of undead... Alright, so... What am I in combat with? Ah. Those guys. Oh, I don't feel like fighting them. I'm going to have to pause the game to explain this, because this is just stupid the way this is lined up, and it doesn't fully make sense. So here's the idea. During or prior to the Hylian Civil War was the Interloper War. As a consequence of that, the Light Spirits sent all of the interlopers into the Twilight Realm, where they used their magic to become the Twilight. Now, they also left behind the Twilight Mirror, the thing that we're looking for. The Hylians used the Twilight Mirror to banish people into the Twilight Realm. This means that as recently as basically the same time Ocarina of Time was actually happening, the Hylians still held court in this place, because this place was actually technically still in action and still being utilized during Ocarina of Time. We just didn't see it on camera back in Ocarina. Now, that doesn't fully make sense, but it has to be that way because Ganondorf is actually found out to be... yes, I know it's Gerudo territory. You can see why this doesn't make sense and why this irritates me. See, it would make... Let me just rewind here a second. Let me explain what it should be. What should be is that immediately in the wake of Ganondorf being found out, the Hyrule basically went straight out, full-out war with the Gerudo and crushed them like a bug with the help of their Zora and Goron allies. The Gerudo were unable to withstand the onslaught, and Ganondorf himself was defeated, along with his people. Having done so, they then claimed the Gerudo territory, banished the Gerudo themselves, and established, basically take over the Spirit Temple, which is what this is. Within the Spirit Temple, they find the Shard of Twilight, or excuse me, the Mirror of Twilight, which was already here, and Gold Tech. For some reason, Gold Tech's in here. I have no idea why. Well, this was back during Ocarina Tequila, where the guards were actually some level of competent, because all of the guards alive in Ocarina are veterans of the Hylian Civil War on the winning side. So it does actually make sense that those guards at that point in history would actually be competent. So, having kicked them out, taken over the Spirit Temple, they claimed the Mirror of Twilight, and then decided to use it on Ganondorf, because Ganondorf was so horrible that death or banishment was not acceptable for him. That leads to the events. We'll actually see that cutscene later. Now, here's the catch. There's a couple catches here. First of all, in the actual codified lore, what they say is that this place was always a Hylian place, which is being used during the Hylian Civil War in order to banish people into the Twilight Realm. As I think I just elucidated on, that doesn't really make sense, because that would mean that the Hylians already controlled the Spirit Temple, which this is, by the way, and already had the mirror and were using it during the Civil War, even though we know the entire point of the Shadow Temple in Ocarina is that's where they dumped all the bodies from the Civil War. Now, these aren't necessarily incongruent with each other, but you can see how these pieces don't actually fit, right? Then, Ganondorf was like, ha, 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 I am Ganondorf. I am evil. And they revealed his treachery and immediately dragged him here and tried to banish him, and that cutscene happens. Then they banished the rest of the Gerudo. I prefer my version of events, and I would also go so far as to say that my version of events don't really contradict anything. Make of it what you will. It's probably worth noting that the creators of this game in particular weren't all that big on making everything make sense, as we'll talk about when we get to the ending. Now, thank you very much, Gold Tech, for the subscription. Much obliged and appreciate, sir, as always. If you happen to know where you want to put that, let me know. Otherwise, I will have Platty stab you. So, we'll talk about that later, Baron. But, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But basically, yes. Obviously, they tried to kill him. They failed. Then they banished him. I didn't want to talk about that yet because that's a whole other thing. It's a totally different thing. That's unrelated to the status of this place or its usage thereof. Ugh, now you're going to make me blow up the book again. God, why do you guys keep making me reference this book that I bought just for this Lorerun? Ugh. I really did. I was happy without buying this book until the Lorerun. Then it's like, well, I'm going to have to for this one. Give me a second. I don't know where it is. I really don't. And as I mentioned before, the organization of this is not all that great. Is this it? Mm-hmm. We'll have to talk about the sages when we get to the cutscene too, by the way. Blah, 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 blah. This isn't the section. Of course it freaking isn't. Ugh. You know what? It's in this book. We're just gonna move on. We're just gonna move on. So hey, 4 Poes again. Although this time at least it's in the desert and not in the forest. I've actually heard theories that these are the same Poes. I don't even begin to think that, but just thought I'd mention it. Sadly, I haven't seen the John Wick series, Hyperspeed, so I can't speak to that one. Funny thing, you can actually completely skip the first Poe. As long as you get a Poe, the scripts of the game presume that you got the first Poe. Because, I mean, you can't progress without getting the first Poe, right? That's just logic. I wonder what a ghost tastes like. Dust. That makes sense. Forget the scent of Ilia and remember the scent of a Poe. That doesn't actually sound like a good idea. I don't think I want to do that. Oh yeah, I should mention something. Even though the dungeons get a little bit shorter from this point onwards, they get a little bit more complex. No. In no small part because of the fact that now you have access to both wolf form and human form through all the puzzles. So they can do more stuff with the dungeon design. It's probably also worth noting that with regards to this place, the actual game is pretty vague. Even though they talk about it and they show us a cutscene, the overall gist of it is, so Ganondorf tried to take over the world, so the sages killed him and then banished him. And that's kind of it. I always got the vague impression back in the day that either they were trying to distance this from Ocarina of Time, or we're actually trying to posit the idea that Ganondorf didn't try to take over the world for, like, generations after Ocarina of Time. Which... I don't even know what to say about that one. Yes, like Hyrule Vilem indeed. It's probably also worth noting, while we're on the subject, that with the exception of Wind Waker, really, each of the Zeldas is supposed to happen like in the millennia range, apart from each other. Which I could actually spend some time sitting and explaining exactly how much that doesn't make sense. Now, that's based on vague interviews, which at this point have been retconned, so whether that's still true or not is more a matter of... But they've actually said, yeah, no, it's supposed to be long times, thousands of years in between each game, and I'm like... But... You... Huh? Yes, thousands of years. Now, that being said, I do have a theory for the thousands of years things. No, seriously. My theory is that they want there to be enough time in between games so they don't have to pay attention to continuity, so they don't have to bother, basically. So, time to fight a Gibdos. These guys kind of suck in this one. Nope. A little too slow. Yeah, Breath of the Wild was like, we're actually really going to put it 10,000 years later. Because screw you. Hi, Diesel Edge. Hundreds of bagrillions of years later. Whatever. No, I'm with you, Takoida. Really. As I tried to explain to Huthor, it doesn't just irritate me personally. It irritates me professionally, because it's literally my job to talk about this stuff. And I cannot tell you, it's hard to properly explain how frustrating it is to have to say, when people ask me questions about games I'm doing a lore run on. This is also one of the reasons why, for quite some time, I've been trying to be very, very clear about what is speculation and what is continuity. What is canon, excuse me. Hi, Wanta. Well, I'm glad that it was enjoyable, Shikor, really. Because, yeah, that was just a mess. Which one could it be? It's definitely not the incredibly obvious one. What the... That's weird. Okay, what's this one taste like, guys? Each ghost has to taste like something different. Yeah, the Hyrule Historia codified a lot of things. But it's funny because most of them were considered continuity by most players for years, up until it came out. But, and this is the funny part, in hindsight, none of it was actually codified until the Hyrule Historia came out. Like, in other words, we were all just kind of taking it for granted that, you know, there's one Ganondorf and that there's, you know, the Wind Waker is connected and Twilight's connected, blah, blah, blah. But none of that was actually stated overtly until we got to the Hyrule Historia, which is just weird to think about. Okay, so let's do this. No. There you go. And then Demise happened. Or rather, didn't happen. Isn't it great how Demise never entered into the series? That's just awesome when you think about it. I mean, can you imagine a world in which Demise was a part of the Zelda franchise? Because I can't. Anyway, sorry. There is actually a reason I was bringing up the specifics of when exactly this place came under Hylian control. Because it matters for specifics of how many people have been tossed through the mirror, basically. Now, in short, if they always had control of the mirror, then they hadn't tossed anyone through. They tossed Ganondorf through in an act of desperation and then split the mirror up. They actually talk about that later. If, however, they had had control of this place since before the war, then you know, the whole idea is that they've been tossing people through regularly. Right, this room. Let's just go and this guy, shall we? If I can. Ah! Fine. Yeah, Wind Waker Ganondorf is the only truly competent Ganondorf. And it makes sense. He's the Ganondorf that lost. It's actually one of the things I like most about him. He is the Ganondorf who lost and grew from it. That's part of the point of this Ganondorf. He never lost. It actually explains a lot about his personality and his approach. He was rejected. He didn't lose. So, by my own personal headcanon, boogity, no, basically. In short, this Ganondorf lost, but not really. I can talk about that in a minute, but what I want to talk about first is the answer to your other question: were other criminals imprisoned in the Twilight Realm? Personally, I think no. So the way that makes, like I said, the way that makes most sense to me, Ganondorf was revealed by Zelda and Link. That's part of the Historia. That's part of the Encyclopedia. It's referenced in this game. Ganondorf's treachery is revealed, so the Unified Kingdom goes against the Gerudo, kicks the Gerudo out, including out of the Spirit Temple, which we're in right now. And they go to execute Ganondorf. Ganondorf is tossed into the Twilight Realm. They split the mirrors into pieces and throw it all over the place. Then they spend years turning this place into a makeshift prison until, for whatever reason, and they never actually explained this one, this place is just abandoned after a while. Now, that being stated, the most obvious reason why this place was abandoned, in my opinion, is, well, they were trying to lock away the most horrible, terrifying creatures, including actual spirit entities, in this place on a regular basis. So, it would make sense to me. God damn it. Hang on. This is actually starting to irritate me. We're going to go check a site that actually references this book that is more organized. Give me a moment. I know I'm muted. It's just, I'm sorry, I'm just getting more and more irritated by how the lore of this game is. At least in the way it connects to other games. It's not that hard to do proper continuity. It's not. It just requires paying attention and giving a damn. Like Wind Waker, for example. This is starting to make even less sense. So apparently... You ever have a problem where you try to explain something that doesn't make sense to you? I have that problem every now and again on my show. It's like trying to talk about Nier. So, okay. The light spirits were crafted to banish the fused shadow, and not the Twilight. But the mirror of Twilight was used... Well, now this doesn't mention that. Hang on. Let me find the other thing here. Supposedly, the actual mirror itself was utilized in the tossing of people through. Alright, this one. So in the original Japanese text, this is like, there's several problems with mistranslations in this game, by the way. In the original Japanese text, Ganondorf being banished to the Twilight Realm was unique. No, it was never done elsewise. However, there are several mentions of them tossing criminals through, including a comment by Midna herself. If you'll give me a moment, I'll find the exact quote. A cursed mirror that sends people to another realm. The criminals who were sentenced to death were sent to the underworld by a cursed mirror kept in the prison. Both of those are direct quotes from Twilight Princess. However, apparently that is in contradiction of the original Japanese text, in which they only ever used the mirror once. Which is also kind of in contradiction with the fact that the people were apparently the ones who banished them through during the Interloper War. Even though it should be the... In fact, I'm looking at it right here. The sages actually were... What? Hang on, so that's page 24. Give me a second. This is getting worse. The more we dig into this, the worse this is getting. Hang on. Ganondorf kills one of the sages. The others continue to protect the Mirror of Twilight. Even though they don't... What? Okay. So the idea here is the Mirror of Twilight was gifted to the people by the light spirits who, one of those two groups, tossed the Twilight through the mirror into the Twilight Realm. They then entrusted the Mirror of Twilight to the people of Hyrule, which naturally explains why it's in the Spirit Temple under the control of the Gerudo. I suppose in the interest of fairness, they could have brought the mirror with them to the Spirit Temple once they took it over. But that's actually kind of nonsensical. At that point, you might as well just sentence Ganondorf in Hyrule Castle, where the mirror is, that you have. Then, they never used it again, according to the Japanese text, or regularly tossed people through, according to the English text. God, what else? There was something else that started this whole chain of ridiculous. It was something Pokity said. Hang on. Oh, right. Then the mirror. Right. So, either they kept using the mirror constantly, never used the mirror again, or spent the rest of their lives defending the mirror. Now, the distinction there is pretty important. So in the English version of the game, they kept using the mirror to toss people into the Twilight Realm, which obviously means it wouldn't have been shattered. In the Japanese version of the game, they never used it again, which is not necessarily incongruent with the encyclopedia, which says they spent the rest of their lives defending it, which would actually mean the sages of the time basically died here, continuing to protect the Mirror of Twilight. Then Zant shows up, breaks the thing, and we move forward. Sure. Hey, it's a chest. Do you know chests are in the Zelda series? Compasses are in this game. Holy crap. I guess I never found the other one. Well, ignore me. I'm just getting everything wrong about this game now. That's where I just came from. What the hell am I doing? God, I'm just really, really mentally turned around right now. You know what I should just start doing? I should just start adding a question mark to everything I say. So then they did this, maybe? It's possible this happened? Oh, excuse me, excuse me. Excuse me. Thank you. Oh, Jesus. I suppose I should mention that I learned something recently. How many of you have ever wondered what the hell's going on in the ending of this game? With Zant? And Ganondorf? Anyone? Yeah, so you wanted to hear the canon answer? I found this out pretty recently, although I'm not going to be able to cite a source because I couldn't find a link to the interview. But yes, the neck crack. There is supposedly, question mark, an interview which indicates that Aonuma doesn't know what happens in that cutscene. It was done by the art director guy who just kind of does his own thing. And, Aonuma just let him. But yeah, I was actually trying to find that interview because I wanted to quote it for you directly, because I like to go to the source as much as I can, but I couldn't find it. I could probably look again. But all I was finding was interviews about completely unrelated stuff, which is just irritating. Oh yeah, by the way, I did find interviews about both Aonuma and Miyamoto, both saying that this game was very disappointing to them. I have no idea why. Although it's worth noting, in the interview about the disappointing thing, Aonuma specifically references how they didn't use the overworld all that much. They wanted to do more with it, basically. And, yeah, that makes sense to me. Because I agree. For how vast the overworld is, there's actually not a lot they do with it. Like, it's made more tolerable by the fact that they literally increase your move speed in it. But, yeah. Anyways, hi, Zanman. Something's wrong, guys. Maybe Midna can tell. Hey, Midna, what's going on? What's wrong, Midna? Midna? They just cling to you. that's probably the overall creepiest thing in this game for me right there. Is those frickin' undead rats. So if you fall from here, you have to basically do that whole section over again. So I'm going to fall, probably. Also, hi, Senior Frosty? Senior Frosty? Normally I would say I like Twilight better, but ultimately both are, in my opinion, really, really good games. So it's hard to compare the two next to each other. I'm starting to think that I like the story of Wind Waker better than Twilight, though, the more I dig into Twilight's lack of continuity. Fine, fine. So, okay, philosophical question for you guys, and I mean this sincerely. Do you think this game deserves a negative to story for how improperly it connects? I guess is the way to put that. Like, I do think the story in its own containment makes mostly sense. There's only one big exception to that one. But it's irritating because this game is a direct sequel to Ocarina, and wants to be a direct sequel to Ocarina, and is literally the follow-through of the events of Zelda's Mistake, and yet they just can't seem to get it consistent. God damn it, Link. Why are you so terrible? So, the pluses and the minuses system. It's actually pretty simple. The way it works is anything that is a substantial increase to the overall enjoyment of the story or gameplay is a positive. Anything that is a substantial decrease to the enjoyment of a story or gameplay is a negative. I knew that was going to happen, too. I literally was waiting for that. That's why I was trying to kill it earlier. Well, see, that's why I consider this a philosophical question, Shikora. Now, by my own base terminology, if it decreases my enjoyment of the story, then it's a negative. And it does. Because... God, because it's a direct sequel. Because it's designed to be a direct sequel. And because the fact that all of these events are informed because of the events of the previous game. Like, if this was... let me try to think of a good example. Okay, this is actually a bad example, but if this was Skyward Sword, it wouldn't bother me as much because, like it or not, Skyward Sword is pretty much designed to just kind of sit on its own. Over there in the corner, and not have anything to do with anything. Whereas, there is a clear intent for this game to directly follow through on Twilight, on Ocarina. Actually, speaking of which, while I was looking into those interviews, I saw another one. Apparently, this game has gone through several complete major story changes over the course of its existence, which might explain a lot of the inconsistency problems. Let me explain what I mean by that really quickly. Wind Waker connects pretty solidly with Ocarina. There's not really any real flaws there. Twilight Princess was originally designed to be a sequel to Wind Waker. Then, after some thought, they decided to go ahead and make it happen before Wind Waker. Then, they settled on the idea of having it be a sidequel to Wind Waker, basically being, you know, the other timelines thing. The follow-through on the timeline concept. Now, to me, do I have bombs? To me, do I have bombs? To me, that makes a lot of sense for explaining some of the issues with this game. Game story, specifically. Because can it sound... What the hell, dude? God dang it. Because it sounds like they just hadn't decided what they were doing, and so they spent less time polishing the story. It also probably helps to explain why the game's internal logic and story is fine, but the way in which it doesn't properly connect to Ocarina doesn't. That's a coach speculation. I don't know if that's true or not. Yeah, that statue is actually supposed to be either the statue or a representation of the statue from Ocarina of Time. I don't know if... How about you guys, but that looks a little smaller than I remember. I don't know. I mean, I guess we were a kid when we went through here last time, maybe, so I don't know. I don't remember the order of these. Nope. It is the same... Okay, so anytime we're using the Master Sword Ventures, it is Fi, the original Master Sword. There are, however, several other swords of legend we use throughout the series, including the Phantom Sword, the Magic Sword, I don't remember them all. You're gonna make me pull up the book again. Why do you guys keep making me pull up the book? You're just trying to kill me, aren't you? Okay, here we go. So, we've got the Magic Sword, the Master Sword, the Hero's Sword, the Four Sword, that's obviously the big one, the Phantom Sword, I already mentioned that one. We've also got, where is the Lacomo Sword. The Goddess Sword is technically the Master Sword, so that qualifies. I think that's everything? Oh, and the Forgotten Sword. There we go. That's from Link Between Worlds. There you go. That's all the major swords we use. Not counting the, optional stuff like the Bigoron or the Fairy Blade. Whoops. Wrong button. Don't you hate it when you accidentally summon a bomb? Hello, doggo. I don't have a cohesive answer to that one, Foggy. I do. All I know is what I've already told you many times. Minish Cap was originally supposed to be the origin story. Jesus Christ. We got a 50-50 shot at this point of actually getting the right answer. Nope, we have a 100% chance of getting it right next time. So that's some. Anyways. Now, my speculation is that yes, given the way the legend of the Four Sword works, it makes most sense to me that yes, the Four Sword was actually going to be the Master Sword. And yes, Vati was chronologically going to be the first villain. I don't know if he was going to take a different format, or if he was just going to be himself. I mean, Vati is a... I would say Vati is a good potential for a villain, even if there's not much actually there. I stream from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. to 2 p.m., and then 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Basically every day when I'm streaming Hyperspeed, so 7 days a week. Oh no, the same trick from Ocarina. Camera out a little bit here. Yeah, Vadi could have been an interesting villain, I think. There's some potential there. You know, the Picori that went bad because he just didn't think the same as the others. And the idea of a Picori who wants to be more active in the affairs of other races. Whereas most of the Picori tend to follow the overall mentality of ignore and be ignored. You know, very elven. Yeah, I would agree. Bellum is... Predator is a good word for that, but yeah, Bellum is more a force of nature. Which Zelda game do I think is the darkest? I usually try not to answer that question. So many people have different definitions for the word to begin with. As I've said many, many, many times, every Zelda game from LTTP onwards is dark. It's just a matter of how exactly they present it. Now, if you ask me which is the most mature Zelda game, you know, the most adult in its overall storytelling, I would actually say Wind Waker. I've been asked to describe the core themes of the Zelda franchise several times. That is to say, of each specific game. Twilight Princess's core theme arguably is dealing with the mess that other people leave behind. If I was to put it into another terminology, I would say it's not giving up on a dumpster fire and instead trying to fix it, you know? I'm explaining that wrong. Oftentimes in life, we get handed a mess. And it's actually fairly human nature. Look, he's really strong, Vigilant. It's actually human nature to try and just give up. To either start over from scratch, or to not bother, or to just walk away from it. And arguably a lot of the problems in Twilight Princess's setting are specifically because someone decided not to deal with it. And thus we are the ones who are actually freaking dealing with it. And as a consequence come up with a more permanent solution to things. I don't really have a way to summarize that within a single word, but you get the idea. Wind Waker is actually the exact inverse of this, and I think this is one of the big reasons why Wind Waker and Twilight Princess serve as good contrasts to each other. Because Wind Waker is about letting go. Wind Waker is about knowing when to fold them. And then doing so. I think it's down first. Nope, I'm wrong. It is up first. And yeah, I know I just quoted that stupid song, but honestly, that song is weirdly accurate to real-life advice. You do need to know when to hold them. You do need to know when to fold them. You need to know when to walk, and you need to know when to run. And, to continue the parallel, Wind Waker is knowing when to fold them. Twilight Princess is knowing when to hold them. It's probably worth noting that in both games, the solution is the hard answer. Rather than trying to reclaim Hyrule in Wind Waker, we have to start over from scratch. So, yay. Oh yeah, this room. This is a fun room. Let's switch forms for this room. That's a good idea. So, I've played this game backseat for a couple people in my life. And each time I do so, I make it a point of doing this room without comment. And I basically wonder how long it takes for the person I am playing it for to notice the problem. They almost always do. I'll never forget one time I was doing this for my sister, and she was just like, "What's that noise?" Brother, what's that noise? And I'm like, what? She's like, go to sense mode, okay. And she just freaked. She actually jumped. Like, oh my god! Yeah, those things are creepy. Anyways. And yeah, I love the fact that they call the new kingdom New Hyrule. Really, guys? Did you learn nothing? Learn from Thrall's mistake. Okay, so let's cut off a few things here before we move forward. Oh jeez! Oh jeez! Oh jeez! We're gonna die! We're gonna die! Oh, thankfully that reset us. Thank you for hitting me, sir. I appreciate it. Okay. Squeak, squeak. So, most evil person in this game. Yeah, exactly, Jared. Who's Thrall? Yeah, no, Zant pretty much takes the cake on this one. He is a specially pathetic personal form of evil. Like, he's the kind of evil you could see meeting in real life. At your day job, you know? He's the kind of evil who you could believe works in accounting. You know what I mean? Like, there's just a weird mundanity to his evil that makes it worse, I think. Ganondorf. You're not going to meet Ganondorf down the block, right? You're not going to... Oh god, bugs, bugs, bugs! Oh god, bugs! Bugs! Oh, the bugs! By the way, the bugs actually literally slow your speed in addition to everything else they do. Hi, Uko. Yep, still creepy. Still should have been a Skyloftian. Whatever. Just not even going to go into that right now. Here's a fun room. No. So the button to grab is the same button as to roll, if you're wondering what the hell just happened there. So, yay. Let's see. I need to... Yeah, what do I hate fighting around these bugs! Bugs must die! You're probably wondering why this is one of my favorite dungeons, considering how much I've been complaining while we're in here. I apologize for the complaining, by the way. It's because this place is... First of all, it's actually pretty well designed from just a base game... No. From just a base game's design perspective. And both the mini-boss and the boss are actually really fun fights. It's gonna be too slow. Yep. This one, no question, Ventures. This one, Breath of the Wild, and arguably 2 would be the biggies. I enjoy the puzzles in here. A lot of the puzzles are designed to base... So, okay. I mentioned how Twilight Princess leans heavily on the three axes rather than 2 axes of puzzle design. So there's the obvious keys and there's the obvious items. Then there's the mechanics that are unique to the dungeon. In this case, the most obvious one is the sand, which you'll notice is not a permadeath thing. It's not a binary difficulty. It just slows you down, and if you stay in it too long, you will actually die. Or lose a heart, more accurately. But then they had the bugs, which, as much as I hate bugs, are actually a pretty cool idea, because the only thing they do is slow you down. They don't actually do anything else. However, slowing you down for a section like this Well, you can see how that kind of nicely ties into itself, doesn't it? And they're almost uniquely designed to freak out the player without actually doing much, which I usually consider to be a good design element. In short, making it seem like you're more threatened than you actually are. So I believe this is the mini-boss. This is a fun little mini-boss. I don't remember what these are called in Japanese lore. Anyone remember what this is called? I know it's a way to seal evil spirits. Because, duh. Notice there's nothing here, even if we do the senses, by the way. So we're locked in. Well, guess there's not much to do. That does look like a cool sword. I wish I had that sword. I mean, that's just a really cool looking sword right there. Look at it. So, I forget exactly how this works, but from what I understand, if any strand of the pattern is cut, the whole thing falls apart. Thank you very, very much, Liberated Phoenix. Much obliged as always, sir. Now, nobody's told me where they want to put their substorts today. So if you have an idea of where you want to put it, let me know. Either way, thank you very much, sir. I've never heard the theory that this is Phantom Ganon. Based on vague inference, I always assumed this was one of the last creatures they imprisoned here before they abandoned the place. Like, this was specifically the creature that was so cursed and so messed up, I should do this, that they just bailed. They were like, yep, nope, we're done. Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, that being said, considering we do have to fight him like Phantom Ganon, maybe? God, I cannot. Yeah, let's try this. Zoom the camera out a bit. Okay. No! God damn it, game. I guess we can arrow him. Or we can get hit by him. Or he could do that. Oh, that's interesting. I've actually never had that happen before. That was very weird. Okay, I'm going to try this one more time, because I swore you could deflect his shots back at him. And I wanted to show that off to... I mean, it's possible you just don't. Because I'm actually doing the swing there, and it's not connecting. So I'm going to assume I can't. So I don't know where that came from. Ah, it could be. Maybe I need to do a timed shield bash instead. We can try that. So that does not deflect them, it just gets rid of them, unless my timing is awful, which is always possible. So yeah, I don't think this is Phantom Ganon. If nothing else, you don't reflect his shots back at him. That's pretty much the Phantom Ganon thing. That was even the Phantom Ganon thing in LTTP. So, I'm just going to torpedo that idea. Now to get what should be the coolest item in the game. And I would say is the coolest item in this dungeon. Like, within the dungeon, I mean. The spinner! So, I should probably mention in advance, I know some people get a little sick / nauseous at having to fight this boss, so I'm going to give you a warning on that one. Hey, Shikor. Yeah, this item's really cool. It's like, and you can be like, wah, chua, chua, chua. And then it just kind of stops, and then it slowly peters out. And that's pretty much what using it outside the dungeon is like. Unless you have a rail track, it's kind of useless. And that's the problem. Like I said, if this had been fully like, say, the shield sliding in Breath of the Wild, that'd be awesome. It would be my new preferred way of getting around. But alas... Whee. Whoops. Oh, crap. I'm about to die. Yep, nope. Totally die. Yeah. And thus, Ganon won forever. That's... okay. Not what I was going for, but sure, that's okay. Oh, that would be so cool, Shikor. That would be... I would be all up ons for that. Yeah, I can think of plenty of gimmicks to do with this thing. By the way, there's actually another way to get through here. I should have showed this off earlier. Ignore the bugs that are all over me. No. Need to go this way. There we go. Yeah, just picture the first Mummy movie, Baron. So now that I've already proven that I suck at this thing, this room's gonna be fun. Yep. Abigail can have as many of them as they want. There's bunches of them here, Baron. Well, she can suck it, Baron. The one from '99, Tara. The good one! I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I actually enjoy that film, but I'm not trying to call the other one bad. Hey, look, there's another of those statues. God, I don't remember there being two of those. And of course I don't have my bombs equipped. Why would I? And that's going to be too slow. Emotep. 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 I also love the idea of that kind of puzzle. That kind of pseudo-platforming, basically. Now this actually kind of sucks, because it's actually... There we go. It's a little difficult to get going the right way there. Whee! You can see why I like this, right? I mean, this is just cool. Whee! Whee! Let's go over here. Whee! I mean, it's basically the rail driving on Sonic, right? You got a stupid stamp. Oh no, we're not at the nauseous point yet. We'll get there. I will give a big warning when we get to the nausea point, because I have known people who find it nauseating. Honestly, I was tempted to give this a positive, but I don't think I'm going to. And not because of that. It's the boss, Pogity. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys, I suck at this specific spot every single time I do this. So this is probably going to take us a few more times. Just as a heads up. Yeah, because it's a one-off gimmick, I'm debating not actually giving it the plus. I'm debating still. Take guesses. How many times do you think this is going to take me? No, right, Wanto? Like, with only a couple exceptions, the big key's always the same thing. Just... You know, you could keep the big key from previous dungeons, Link. I'm just saying. How did the Gerudo make all this? Magic. I don't know, dude. Actually, given the whole Uko thing, it wouldn't surprise me if they're trying to infer that all of this stuff came from them. I mean, they do say that in the Temple of Time, so... Why not, right? I'll be here a while, get a drink. And we're at the boss. So this is your nausea warning, guys. I know some people do find the spinning to be nauseating, so FYI, nausea warning, okay? Twin Rova, that's a good question. I don't know. Now I actually enjoyed this boss, but I'm a weirdo. Hi, Zant. You still live. How astonishing. No wonder they call you hero. But this is a truly bittersweet reunion. Truly. For I fear this is the last time I will see you alive. Notice we can see his hands now. Bit by bit, we can see more of him each time he shows up. Because the whole point, Loner, is he's trying to sound villainous and evil, but he's kind of pathetic. So he doesn't know how to do it. By the way, notice how many weapons are still sticking out of this thing. The implication is that this thing was killed, and they didn't know what to do with it, so they just kind of buried it here. You don't really need a spine anyways, right? So... Nope. First screw up. Let's count these, shall we? There's a little bit of RNG here. And some skill, which obviously I don't have the skill. There we go. So that's 2 screw-ups so far. It could have also been imprisoned in here and just left to die of, you know, starvation. So this one's the irritating one, the third one. Because of that. But, nope, I didn't get the angle. Right into it! Let's get a little more speed. Through here, hit... okay. I've never had that. I'm just having so many never had that happens befores in this playthrough. And, nope, I missed. The idea is to bounce off of someone. There we go. Crawl my way to the finish line. Congrats, Hector. Up top, man. Okay, so that's the boss fight. And just like the last time, where does the sand drain to? I mean, granted, we're not that far underground here like we were in the water temple, but where's the sand going? Oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. No. Yeah, this is a little too obvious that this is actually only phase 1. The twin mold dimension. I heard one person come up with a really wild theory once that this was twin mold, which I just was like, really? Or, you know, what's left of twin mold, basically. Total shock! So, you mentioned, in case this is your last warning for nausea, or dizziness, or whatever you want to call that, because this is how we fight this boss. Yeah, I don't buy the twin mold thing. I find it helps if I just stare at Link, rather than the rest of what's going on. I love how we're actually attacking the sword and not him, by the way. It's fun, Boogity? I don't know. I actually enjoy this boss fight. So for those of you not actually cognating this, only the inner tracks go up. The outer tracks are static. Not that it really matters how high up. So I'll show off what Pogoty's talking about. You could just do this. And fail, apparently. But point being, you can do that if you had more height to begin with. By the way, it's hard to see, but there's actually a bit of a glitch in how the other things happen. And that's... Whoa. I don't... There's a bit of a glitch in how the spikes are rendered. And the reason for that is because if they were actually approaching at the rate they should be, they would slam into you without any warning. You would have no capacity to react to it. So, good design. Again. Hi, Nerazes. One more should do it. Notice now there's spikes on the outside, too. So now we're going to see the cutscene that covers all that crap that I mentioned was so irritating earlier. I've never heard that theory of the count. Theoretically, since Volvagia was never released or killed in this timeline, that could literally be Volvagia. So this is... Oh, never mind. So based on what we learned earlier, I'm going to go with the idea that they never actually used the mirror, ever, other than tossing Ganondorf in. Because that seems to line up with what the Japanese text says, and it makes the most sense given what we learned in the, the encyclopedia. I know that's kind of treading into headcanon-y territory, but as if that's ever bothered me. And I don't know, hyperspeed. They have sight beyond sight. Up we go, in case you weren't dizzy enough. It's okay, this one's much shorter. Well, like I said, there's actually quite a few minor details that are different in the English version and the Japanese version. I mentioned one of them. In the Japanese version, it wasn't about trying to just claim the Sacred Realm. The interlopers were trying to conquer Hyrule as well. Which is kind of significant. This always weirded me out. For some reason, Zant was able to break the mirror even though it was buried in sand. Did he lock it, break it out, break it, and then seal it again? Hi, Hazardous. Who you playing as? Ah, it's true. It could have been unsealed, and then he buried it after breaking it. That's valid. So the idea here is only those of the actual... Oh, this is one of my favorite songs of the whole game. Hang on. Okay. Now, these are the sages, or rather, these are the spirits of the sages that tried to kill and then banished Ganondorf. That's relevant because that happens immediately after the timeline split, aka at the very beginning of Ocarina of Time. You with me? Now that's relevant because that means there's only two possibilities here. These are the sages from Ocarina, as in, you know, Saraya and Daruni and all that, or these are the sages that were around before they took the office. I thought it was Ruto is the seventh one that's missing. I could be wrong about that. Now, I think it's the sages before them. That makes the most sense to me, because as we've talked about before, the sages have to awaken to actually have the office of sage. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, the sages have... There's always a sage, they just aren't always functional. So the idea here is there were sages, you know, at the beginning of Ocarina. They were awakened specifically to deal with this crisis, and they did so at the cost of one of their lives, the water one. Now that means we have no idea who these people are. We can identify which one is equivalent to what because we can see the symbols, each symbol equating to one of the different seals. That's actually common iconography. It's one of the only things they maintain consistent iconography on throughout the whole franchise. They'll always use the symbol for water and the symbol for spirit and the symbol for forest and etc. Going back to Skyward and going forward to, like this game, for example. Now, I have a theory here. That what I just stated is fact, okay? I do have a theory. So we're going to see these sages up close, and they don't look human at all. But they also don't look human in the flashback. What I think we're seeing is, this is going to sound strange, but what I think we're seeing is the representation of the Sage of Water, not a Sage of Water, if that makes any sense. In short, the idea that the office of the sagehood is I don't know what to call it, like a title, a mask, that is put upon someone if they are called to service. And thus, the person underneath stops mattering, basically, if you follow. There is still a person underneath, but as far as the concept goes, they are the Sage of Water, as opposed to Ruto. Yeah, Takoida kind of sees where I'm going with this, yeah. Now, that personally makes the most sense to me, especially given that this also lines up with the kind of dickish nature of the goddesses, because we know the goddesses personally imbue the sages, right? So, you are now called into service, and you are now forced into this lifestyle, or this existence, or whatever, would be a very thing the three goddesses would do, right? Anyways, that's my take on that, but it is worth noting, we do not, to my knowledge, have a canon explanation for what the hell's going on with their appearance here. You who are guided by fate, and you'll see what I mean when we get a closer camera angle here. You possess the crest of the goddesses, hear us. At the command of the goddesses, we sages have guarded the Mirror of Twilight since ancient times. You seek it, but the Mirror of Twilight has been fragmented by mighty magic. Notice how their hands are not connected to their robes. By the way, their heads aren't connected either. That magic is a dark power that only he possesses. See? That's a good shot of the face there. Oh yeah. Plot twist. There's actually a TV tropes concept called Hijacked by Ganon. And while I get the point of it, I have to admit that I don't think Ganondorf actually hijacked the plot here. This has always been Ganondorf's story, to some extent or another, and there has been lots of foreshadowing that he was the one behind things the whole time. And, as I mentioned, in historical context, the whole point was to give you the fake reveal of it being Zant instead of Ganondorf, And then, oh no, it actually was Ganondorf later on. The untwist, or whatever the proper terminology is for that. Hi, Rex. Hope you're having a good day off. Hope you're having a day off at all. He was the leader of a band of thieves who invaded Hyrule in the hopes of establishing dominion over the Sacred Realm. Oh, no, Bragman. That would be demise, if anything. He was known as a demon thief, an evil magic user. I didn't catch the rest of that. There's actually a lot of Zelda games Ganon isn't in, believe it or not. But he was blind. To Venters. In all his fury and might, he was blind to any danger, and thus he was exposed, subdued, and brought to justice. Notice the symbols on their robes there to identify each of them. So they try to execute him with... I don't know what that sword is. But he has the Triforce of Power. Now, for once, this isn't inconsistent. This makes perfect sense. Hear me out, though. We'll talk about this in a minute. By some divine prank, he too had been blessed with the chosen power of the gods. And he kills... Well, we used to say he kills Ruto, but obviously it's just whoever the Water Sage was. So... desperate and terrified... since he was about to kill them. And again, in the Japanese version, this makes more sense if this is the only time they've ever done this. Because it's literally just a panic attack, really, or a panic move. Now, the game doesn't make it clear, but yes, thanks to Link and Zelda from Ocarina, that's how they exposed him. Now, that's important. His abiding hatred and lust for power turned to the purest malice. Perhaps that evil power has been passed on to Zant. You're just now figuring out where Zant got his power? It's far too late. Only the true leader of the Twilight can utterly destroy the Mirror of Twilight, so Zant could merely break it into pieces. That rule makes no sense, by the way. Once broken by magic, the Mirror of Twilight became fragments, which even now lie hidden across the land of Hyrule. One is in the Snowy Mountain Heights, my favorite dungeon in the game. One is in an ancient grove, also a pretty fun one. And one is in the heavens. We'll get there. You who have been sent by the goddesses, you should be able to gather the three pieces. But you should be prepared, for a dangerous power resides in those fragments. I love how friendly Midna and Link get by the end of the game, by the way. Just a nice little touch. Yeah, but why does the power of the leader have anything to do with the mirror through which they were banished centuries ago by creatures who are not them? Like, it would make more sense if someone needed the Triforce to fully destroy the mirror. Because, I mean, again, this is literally an object that was crafted by the Triforces, or the Triforces, by the goddesses, and used by either the Hyruleans, which makes no sense, or the Light Spirits, which makes much more sense, in order to banish them. Like, at what point... You see the disconnect here? At what point does being the elected leader of the Twilight have anything to do with the item that was used to banish them? The Twilight didn't even exist at the point at which this mirror existed, and was utilized to banish them. I mean, you're right, Baron, but you see why I just look at this like, really? Anyways, what time is it? Okay, so... Right, we need to discuss something, because this is actually pretty cool in its own right. Why do you... They call it the divine prank, but the truth is this is all Zelda's fault. And I'm not saying that to put her down, it's just a statement of fact. Because of what Zelda did at the end of Ocarina of Time, the events of both games happen. I already talked about that. And both games are about the system balancing itself after what Zelda did. Now, this also kind of makes the third timeline make even less sense, because from a narrative thematic point, the idea is there never should have been multiple timelines. What Zelda did crafted one, and it screwed with everything. To wit, Ganondorf already has the Triforce of Power. Why? Now, this is actually explained. What happened is when Zelda sent back Link, Link had the Triforce of Courage at that point in time. So Link all of a sudden ends up in a new timeline having the Triforce of Courage, keeping in mind the whole Triforce was still in the Sacred Realm at that point in time. This also means the Triforce of Courage was suddenly missing from the Wind Waker timeline. Now that's going to be important. We'll talk more about that part when we get to Wind Waker. But for the Twilight Princess side, we all of a sudden have two Triforces of Courage. Now the idea here is this basically makes it all go, and we get a divide by zero error. And what happens is the Triforce splits on the spot. And so this imbalance causes the Triforce of Power to go into the largest manifestation of it, the Triforce of Wisdom, and the Triforce... Basically, the Triforce splits artificially ahead of time. This is why the Triforce of Courage continues to resonate so strongly throughout our bloodline, because technically it's two Triforces of Courage. This is also why Ganondorf has the Triforce of Power, even though he never even made it to the Sacred Realm. This also means, if you're paying attention, that there is no Triforce at all, as in a singular unified Triforce, from Ocarina all the way up until Twilight Princess. Is also interesting to think about, and may be partially responsible for the reason why the world is in such a bad shape. Does the Hero's Shade still have the Triforce of Courage? Probably not, but it's also possible that the answer is yes, because technically we do have two Triforces of Courage to work with. Now, I don't know is the correct answer to that, but it's entirely possible that the answer is yes, and that's what has enabled him to keep going on in order to pass on his lessons to us. And then the other Triforce of Courage is the one that keeps going down through the bloodline, ending up in us. And that's why I pointed out at the very beginning of the game, notice that we start the game already having the Triforce of Courage. So, where did the Triforce of Courage and Wind Waker come from? I don't want to talk about that just yet, but the long and the short of it is, it manifested. That's the short answer. And it's one of the reasons why that's my favorite Link. But I want to save that discussion for when we get there. No, Ventures. It's fun, but it doesn't have anything to do with the story. What am I doing? What do you say, Midna? What do you think he thinks about it, then, Pokedy, if you don't mind my asking? Debating something. Let's do this. How many rupees are we up to? We still need about 200 more. Ganondorf does specifically reference the ties of fate that bind us in Wind Waker. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Wind Waker Ganondorf did figure that out, Baron. I mean, the Wind Waker Ganondorf is certainly the most developed of them. Oh yeah, I mentioned the loss thing. Let me talk about that briefly. So, I mentioned how the Wind Waker Ganondorf is the one who lost, and that's one of the reasons why... I'm not worried about it, Hazardous. And that's one of the reasons why he's developed and matured as a character. I want to explain that a little bit. You could say that both Twilight and Wind Waker Ganondorf lost, but I think that's not quite getting across the whole measure of the point. Have you guys ever had a moment... I feel like I've said this speech before. Have you guys ever had a moment where... you planned out something, and it's something really important to you, and you're like, okay, I'm going to spend the time and effort, and I'm going to work on this, and it's going to be great, and before you even get started, you're chopped off at the knees and told, nope, and you fail. Just right out the gate. Like, to use a metaphor, imagine if you're racing, and you take, like, 2 steps into the race, and your leg breaks. I've had that happen to me before. And I was going to say, I imagine plenty of people understand that concept. That is a special level of infuriating, isn't it? Like a whole new type of just, right? That's what Twilight Princess Ganondorf goes through. He's thinking, okay, I'm going to spend the time and effort, I'm going to go to Hyrule, I'm going to feign loyalty, and then I'm going to claim the Triforce, and we'll take over, it's going to be great, and then, nope, you are a traitor! What? And he never got a chance to start. And then they tried to execute him. And then he got banished. So, as Pogity points out, you don't learn from that. It just makes it worse. This is why the Ganondorf from Twilight Princess is so much more malevolent and generally vicious than any other Ganondorf we see. Because he went through that and then was locked away in the Twilight Realm. And the only reason he survived in the Twilight Realm is because he already had the Triforce of Power. So, by contrast, the Wind Waker Ganondorf, he went through the whole thing. He basically won, and was the Lord of Hyrule, and then the Chosen, he had this whole conniving plan of allowing the hero to run around so he could claim the Triforce. And then he actually lost. That Ganondorf learned. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why the Wind Waker Ganondorf is so much more developed. Because he literally had development. Because he had time and experience to grow from. As we will talk about when we get to Wind Waker proper, he never underestimated Link, Zelda, or the Sages. Ever. From that point onward. In fact, the one and only individual he ever underestimated was the King. And that was ultimately his downfall. Exactly, Blackfile. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's go do that next. Sorry, I was just debating. And I figured I'd talk to her to see what the game wants me to do next. I don't know if I'd say he respects... Well, actually, yeah, I would say he probably respects the Wind Waker Link. Especially given all that he's able to accomplish. Oh no, she's totally a Gerudo. Telma's totally a Gerudo. That's not 100% confirmed. Actually, is it? Hang on. She has a character section. She has a character section. Give me a second. Let me pull up her character entry here. Give me a moment. Hey, it's Sonic. I'm not even kidding. Sonic is right here. Apparently Link was in a Sonic game. That's why that's there. Okay, so Link Between Worlds. What's this one? Is this Skyward? Yeah, that's Skyward. And this is Spirit Tracks, which means there's Wind Waker. Here we are. Well, it's not going to tell me details, is it? Nope. It's not actually going to say if she's a Gerudo. She's totally a Gerudo. I think we can all accept that. Actually, let me check the section on the Gerudo. Maybe it's here. This is just... I don't... This is going to sound weird, but I don't recommend picking up this book. It is very poorly laid out. There's information all over the place. Instead of, you know, being organized. Like, check this out. So the section I'm checking in order to find the species stuff is historical records, which includes Zelda, Link, Ganondorf, spirits, fairies, the sages, the Temple of Time. And then we start covering the Sacred Realm, the Twilight Realm, Lorerun, Holodrum, Termina, World of the Ocean King, New Hyrule, Hitopia, Sheikah, Gerudo. Like, this is just not very well laid out. Anyways, let me check here. I don't think it's going to mention it, but we'll see. Nope, doesn't say. I didn't think it would. Although, in case you guys doubted me, let me quote this word for word. When Ganondorf is executed in Twilight Princess, the Gerudo are driven out of the desert altogether. They find a new home in the Desert of Doubt, and work to foster a more positive relationship with the Hylians. Moving on. Made my point about that one a few times. I just wanted to reiterate real quick. Yeah, that's it. I had to go digging for that. It's a side entry in the Gerudo section. Yeah, the Desert of Doubt is a location in Four Swords Adventures. I guess we'll go over the ledge then. Ooh, yeah, please, there we go. I'm telling you, the only reason that's a thing is to shove Four Swords Adventures after Twilight. Second favorite song in the game. So, how do you do an ice dungeon properly? Exhibit A. This whole section, really, is just awesome. What brings you to a dangerous place like this? Ever since Zora's domain got covered in ice, the mountain's been much colder than usual, yeah? Not only that, but I've heard a really weird story from the Zoras. Apparently the beast that lives somewhere in this mountain has been seen frequently in Zora's domain. I was curious, so I came and waited, and as they said, a giant appeared. Yeah, it looked like this. You got the sketch. Apparently this thing's been stealing red fish from the village. I want to investigate further, but I can't even see the path through this blizzard, yeah? I'm sure you're here because you're curious about the mountain, but you'd best not go without a plan. Alright, so this is a good time to mention something. The game is scripted so that you can't go through here. You'll run into a, oh, you're lost, and then you get teleported back to the beginning kind of a thing. It is, however, possible to just very carefully navigate through here, or glitch your way through here, if you'd prefer to. I will not be doing that, obviously. I don't even know the path off the top of my head. And never mind having it memorized or anything like that. But I just thought I'd mention it. So the default game, you gotta find the path. Which means... stressing out over nothing? I'm pretty sure I stress out over nothing every day of my life, Disco. Hey, the beast of Snowpeak. Oh, the red fish it's holding. That's a reek fish. That's a good question, Baron. So the beast has been showing itself because it's been catching reek fish. I didn't think anyone besides Prince Rawless was capable of catching this type of fish. Prince Rawless, you say? Interesting. What do you have to say, sir? This Prince Rawless is quite skilled at catching this. Oh, Prince, where could you be? Oh, Princey, Prince. Not far enough away. Fine, I'll go 5 steps further. Really? So usually they check line of sight for that. Like, you can actually teleport in crowded areas if you just get behind people, you know? One of the things I'm curious of is if Breath of the Wild 2 will answer the question of when the hell Breath of the Wild happens. I know the official answer. I'm just curious if they're gonna, you know, give an official answer. That doesn't make sense. I know the official stance. I'm just curious if they'll give a canon answer. There we go. That explains it better. So I suppose I should say that for those of you not aware of the official stance, I don't have the interview in front of me, please forgive me, but it's paraphrased. We wanted players to be able to enjoy making their own stories within Breath of the Wild rather than telling them the story that exists. So we've been deliberately vague and avoiding giving out information on which timeline it's in, when it happens, where it happens, etc. I'm with Takoida on that. Bullcrap. But what the hell do I know? Yeah, we're probably a couple years out from Breath of the Wild 2, so it's kind of hard to judge at this point. Is your name Link? My mother came to me in a dream and showed me your image. She spoke of a youth who would save our domain and steer my fate, when named Link. I must thank you for all you've done. If there's anything I could ever do for you, please tell me. Well, there is, actually. The Beast Man of the Snowy Mountain? But more important is the red fish it's holding. No, Disco. It might be... That's true, Pugity. It might be a reek fish. That is a rare specimen found only in the Zora village. It feeds on a valuable type of coral, and without that bait, even our best fishers cannot catch one. Here, I'll give you my earring. It allows you to capture the reek fish. You remember fishing, right? Because this is the second of 2 times fishing is mandatory in this game. The reek fish can be found near the Mother and Child Rocks in the waterfall basin near my village. Fish are red, so you should be able to spot them. Thanks, kid. Yeah, as a reminder, Majora's Mask didn't actually take all that long to come out after Ocarina, because they already had an engine and assets ready to go. Remember, in many ways, Majora was basically an expansion to Ocarina, at least in terms of development. That's not an insult. As I've said many times, I'm actually fully in favor of the concept of expansions, and that's one of the reasons why. As I've said many times, I consider the stories in terms of brackets rather than timelines nowadays. And personally, I would say Breath of the Wild is its own new bracket, based on everything that we see in it. However, if you asked me specifically which timeline it sits in, it would make the most sense to me for various reasons that it's actually in the Twilight timeline. And I want to explain those 3 reasons, because at least I think there's 3. Reason number 1 is that while there are obvious references to Wind Waker, there are far more references to Twilight Princess. Especially in a narrative sense rather than just in a background sense. There's our reek fish. Point number 2. To me, it makes more narrative sense to show... Okay, so how do I explain this? After Ocarina, Wind Waker kind of concluded. What I mean by that is Wind Waker ends in a fairly, status quo altering way, which leads directly into Spirit Tracks, where they literally go to a whole new area, whole new territory, and start a completely new life with new villains and new concepts and all that fun stuff, right? So, the status quo changed, and then they finished Spirit Tracks, and then that timeline has basically concluded. Twilight Princess doesn't conclude anywhere nearly as cohesively or conclusively. I know I skipped Phantom Hourglass. So, So the idea here is Twilight Princess happens, and then Four Swords Adventure happens, which makes absolutely no sense. But the point is, Twilight Princess ends in many ways on a, I don't want to say a cliffhanger, but like, there's a lot of dangling threads at the end of Twilight Princess. And, in addendum to that, it also would make sense to me that given the general theme has been, in many of the Zelda games, is moving on or, figuring out what to do with what you've got, and Breath of the Wild effectively is kind of a post-apocalypse in a similar way that Wind Waker was, it makes sense that Breath of the Wild is the post-apocalypse of Twilight. So, that's my reasoning. Now, I need to remember how to fish. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. Apparently I can just do this. That's cool. Ah! This is how you fish. No, Spirit Tracks is in many ways a direct sequel to both Wind Waker and Phantom Hourglass. Red fish, red fish, red fish, red fish. Red fish, red fish, red fish, blue fish, green fish, two fish. It really sucks. Alright, so now we do this. You got the awful scent. I know. It's one of the only times in the whole game that the animation is just crap. This is a game that has pretty high quality animations in general. Anyways, so Pharaoh asks, Spirit Tracks is completely divorced. So Phantom Hourglass is actually completely divorced, even though Phantom Hourglass occurs literally minutes or hours after the end of Wind Waker. Possibly days at the outside. Phantom Hourglass has nothing really to do with anything. You literally enter another dimension and explore this alternate dimension as you're going through the events of Phantom Hourglass. However, after the destruction of the curse of Bellum within the other dimension, several of the people from that dimension carry forward back into this dimension. You with me so far? In short, the two oceans kind of merge, to put it into simplistic terminology. This then immediately leads into them going off and seeking a new land, which already had all of the spirits of good and kindness and whatever the hell else they were. The land that was haunted by Maladaeus, or however you say a stupid name. That's the land they decided to settle and called it New Hyrule. So in short, they left the realm of Hyrule behind, the flooded lands, in order to seek a new land, and the people from Phantom Hourglass who carried over also came with them to the new land. Hence, Spirit Tracks is directly connected to both Phantom Hourglass and Wind Waker. You follow me? Spirit Tracks had its flaws, but it could stand with a polishing pass, I would say. However, it is actually among my favorite Zeldas. Well, kind of. It's up there, at least. Whoops! I forgot that was even a thing. And then we froze to death. The end. Favorite dog in gaming? Someone name a dog that's in a video game. There you go. The dog from Duck Hunt. No, I don't like that dog. Screw that dog. Dog meat? Oh yeah, from Fallout. There you go. Fallout. Dog meat. Dog Fallout. Does Link count? That's a good question, actually. By the way, this is what the wolf hosts look like in this game. They're literally snow spirits. I would say the Zelda from Spirit Tracks is my favorite Zelda to date. Shikor? I'm gonna have to stab you, I just want you to know that. Yeah, for those of you not aware, the Spirit Tracks Zelda is actually a part of the party, kind of like how Midna is here, and actually goes out of her way to help us on a regular occasion. In fact, there are several sections where we effectively play as Zelda. Holy crap, right? Yeah, she also has lines and dialogue and personality. I mean... it's weird. It's like when turning Zelda into a character was a good thing. So while there are certainly sins to Spirit Track's storyline and general presentation, I will always give it credit for at least making Zelda a person. Nah, I screwed that up. It depends on which Link and at which point in time we're talking at him. Actually, I have played the CDI games. Oh, Jesus. No, 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 no! Oh, God. Sorry. Whoops. I should have put the glasses. The glasses were over there. Thank you, Delbach. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very, very much for the subs. Much obliged, sir. However, if you don't tell me where you want to put those, like we've had a trend today. We've had like 4 people sub today, and no one's telling me where they want to put it towards. I'm afraid there's going to be some stabbing in our future. Stabbinating. Come on, I totally had that. Damn it, I totally had that one too. See you around, Platy. Enjoy the errands. And make sure you get something sweet for yourself, or else. Alright, little Keys, there's no reason for you to attack me. I ain't no threat of you. Run! Run! Hey, there's a person over there. But first, let's put this down. Delbach. Guess I can delete this. Sure. So that would be... And then... Mario Maker 2. You got it, Delbach. Thank you again, sir. Now, Adam said PT. Oh, God, which one's PT? Which Zelda's PT? I don't recognize that acronym. I don't think I want that Zelda game, Shikor. Oh, this sucks. But we managed it. Ganon stranding? No. No. Bad. Oh, yeah, I need to update the website to have that. Oh, Twilight Princess. Okay. Well, Twilight Princess Link... Hang on, there's a cutscene coming up. Twilight Princess Link would probably be level 837. No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. He actually probably wouldn't be all that high level until the end of the game, in which he'd probably be straight up level 20. But even that would take the whole game to get there, and he would be a straight up fighter all the way up. And I guess that's it. So this guy's tail has always bothered me. Whoa! Heard a ruckus and, just a human. I see humans not often, huh? Why humans come to snows? You on spiritual journey? Look for true self? You look for a long time. That was joke. Yeti's choke too, huh? You look for truth something else, huh? Tell truth. Look how big that fish is. That fish is bigger than Link is. You look for Mir in such faraway place. Why you not say so before? Well, you make good climb. And you lucky to meet me. I found shiny mirror piece. Same mirror you look for, huh? You come to house. See yourself. I caught fish. I make you hot meal at least. My house far away. We slide. You know, you could probably just... Okay. Man, that guy has got some balance. So you know how I mentioned how the spinners should be awesome? This is what the spinner should have felt like. Right here. This is how we should have gotten around the overworld in this game. Is with the spinner like this. How many times do you think I'm going to screw this up, by the way? I don't believe so, no, Adam. Now, there's actually an optional version of this course, which is harder. And I've only done once in my 100% run. Yeah, literally the canon explanation for the ears is it's in honor of Hylia, who originally had the ears. So... I already did, Poogity. Funnily enough. At least I think I did. Pretty sure I did. Someone feel free to check that. I don't actually remember, and I'm a little busy at the moment. No, that's the legend explanation. Shikor. If you look, Hylia herself had pointy ears. So they have pointy ears. That really is it. I mean, remember, the Hylians are basically descendants of the original Link and Hylia, aka Zelda. Here? What's with this guy? He's got a nice place for a beast man. Alright, I'm ready. Incredibly destructive, terrifyingly dangerous dungeon. I'm ready. Now, I've already given my theory on this place, but since we're here, I'm going to go ahead and repeat it really quick. First of all, let's talk about what we do know about this place. This is a long abandoned fortress for rich people. Like, you know, the well-off, basically. No canon explanation is given for why it's abandoned. Unlike most of the other abandoned places, there's no cursed creature, or cursed object, or cursed curse. They just stopped being here. They also... this was also a military fortress, which is actually kind of unusual for the franchise, to have a place that is a solely military locale. Usually things like the castles and whatnot aren't actually, you know, what you'd call militarily sound. I love this. We go into the first dungeon, and the first thing we see is a cute, innocent, friendly little Yeti who is sick. Poor thing. You cute little human. Husband told me you come. You want look at mirror, huh? My husband found it, but it pretty thing. And since I get mirror, I get sick, and bad monsters appear. So many bad things happen since mirror. So we lock bedroom on 3rd floor where it hangs, huh? Wait, I tell you where key is. Here is them, and we've already got the map. Just right off the bat here. Fever makes head blurry, but probably in a room marked by symbol. Right now, can't even get up. Would you bring it to me? Start with door right there. Yeah, sure thing. You could probably already tell why I love this dungeon. This is probably one of the most unusual dungeons in the entire franchise. While it certainly has several of the hallmarks of being a Zelda dungeon, there's this undercurrent of this also kind of serving as a town function in addition to being a dungeon that really helps flesh it out. Furthermore, there's a not quite side quest that you can do to help him make his soup as we're going through it, which we also then get to sample, which is not only a increasingly better healing item, but just kind of adds to the story of the thing. It's a really cool dungeon, in short. Wife, look bad, huh? Not healthy since Mir, so I make soup for her. Fish from Zora Village, most nutritious. You tired, huh? You have some, give you energy. I actually happen to have an empty bottle. He good cook. Simple soup. Replenishes 2 hearts. You'll notice, by the way, the Yetis keep this place maintained. I mentioned that because no one else does. And they only keep their own areas maintained. The rest of it's pretty much overrun. Oh god, the sliding puzzles. I have been so lost on these sliding puzzles. And I'm totally not going to have that happen this time. Hang on. Let me think about this for a second. Yep. By the way, you'll notice the first thing this ice dungeon does better than the previous ice dungeon. The areas with ice physics are far more limited. For the most part, we have terrain like this, which we can walk on, or snow. So, this is already the first way in which this is better than the ice cavern. Well, the Mirrors of Twilight are infused with the power... The Mirror of Twilight is infused with... The Mirror of Twilight is infused with the power of Twilight, which is kind of a... It's wrong for beings of light, basically, to put that as simply as I possibly can. In short, someone who is of light will... It doesn't actually like being around something of Twilight. So simple exposure to something of Twilight will cause issues over time. In fact, it has actually been argued that the only reason Link has no problems being around Midna is because he has the Triforce of Courage. Anyways, I should probably actually try to solve the puzzle. So, I think... Fine. a second. Notice the ice physics are just as irritating as they always are, it's just they're more limited. Oh, wow. Actually, radiation isn't a bad parallel for what I was thinking. Where is my... There it is. Well, remember, we didn't have the Master Sword for a bit. But yeah, the Master Sword would also help. Well, shoot. I thought I could go through that ice chunk. So we'll be able to break the ice later once we get the dungeon item. That just puts us back there. We could try that. No, that doesn't help. Actually... yeah, it might work. It's worth noting I am extremely stupid, so please forgive me as I suck at these for a while. Yeah, no, I'm right. Sorry, just... It doesn't help that apparently my neighbors are moving giant cinder blocks or something, because I keep hearing this really loud thunk every few minutes. I'm not sure what's up, though, over there. You'd think they'd just be out trying to grill some, you know? Isn't that what today is supposed to be? Grill day? I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't even have a grill. For near as as. He asked. Ooh. What in the world? Hang on a second. Ow! Ow! Oh! Oh, that hurts. So I have a little blanket here to help my arm stop hurting, but I think I've been sitting in exactly the same position for a little too long here. Oh, that hurts. All right. Okay. All right. So, back into it. I'm glad they finally moved out. I hope whoever moves in is better, basically, for everyone. So this is the first time we actually get to see the dungeon proper. As you can see, this is a fort. This is a straight-up fortress, which just happens to include a luxurious manor within it. It has armor, it has knights, it has cannons and cannonballs. Yeah, no, this is a fortress. Oh yeah, funny little thing. Hang on. Kill these first. So while you're Wolf Link, you could just walk on the surface of the snow. No issues. When you're not... I just always thought that was a neat little touch. I mean, if you think about it, he's probably carrying a bunch of gear, you know. He's fat. He's just, you know, big equipped. Any clue as to who this fortress was built to defend against? Nope. As I started to talk about earlier, there is no canon explanation for what this place is. None. I do have a headcanon explanation for what this place is, but that is, as the name might imply, headcanon. My thought of this place is that this is one of the fortresses... So, okay. That this is a fortress of the other side, or one of the other sides, of the Hylian Civil War. You know, the losing side. Come on. Come on. Fine, don't then. This, to me, explains all of the puzzle pieces of what this place is. It's a place for the rich and wealthy, because they were on the other side, and the implication is always that the Hylian, you know, the royal family, the one that won, are, you know, decent folk. So it would make logical sense that the people they were fighting against were not. So we've got the rich and wealthy aspect, we've got the fact that it's clearly a military fortress, and we got the fact that it's been abandoned for a while, but not because of any curse or anything like that. Just, it wasn't in need anymore. So, there you go. A simple explanation, but I think it works, because I'm a weirdo. Oh yeah, that's my final reason for thinking this would be, you know, the other side. It's way the hell up here. Hey, an Ordon pumpkin. What's this? This isn't right. She got the wrong location. You want to go back and try to get her to remember where the key is? Yeah, let's head back. By the way, there's also a picture of the Arbiter grounds, which makes no sense. And a picture of the Queen Azora, which makes even less sense. I'm not going to try to explain those away. So one of the other reasons I love this dungeon is it is extremely tightly designed. This is basically the dungeon. Whoops. Even though it says it has 3 floors, but it's basically just the 2 floors. And really, it's mostly just the 1 floor. This is it. This is the whole dungeon right here. Very dense. Very close to each other, but each room has a lot happening in it, and you end up unlocking shortcuts as you go through here constantly. What war against Ganondorf would be my answer to that, Geludo. Oh, right. Where's the... Right. While we're here, let's heal. But if we are to presume a war happened with Ganondorf, which I don't buy, for the record, but if we are to presume such a thing happened, it is not outside the realm of feasibility that this is someplace that was used in that war. I'm not sure when they built it, but they could have built it for that war. I'm not sure why they'd be fighting way up here against the desert people either. You can see why I don't buy that. It's just there's too many holes in it. Hey dude, gotcha some. What flavor? Pumpkin! You have pumpkin! I love his cooking prowess. You know how he cooks? Plonk. Thanks. You taste if you want. So now... Let's try it again. You put good soup. Now it can replenish 4 hearts. Also, as a quick aside, I want you to picture what pumpkin, fish, cheese soup would taste like. Just think about that. Hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but that wasn't actually where the key is. You find it? Huh? What? Pumpkin? But why there? Oh, good. Oh, where I leave it? Ugh, maybe in that room. Cool room marked by symbol. Check room I marked on map. Okay. And I don't do cooking streams. I do cooking videos. Could it be a safe house? I guess? It's just, that doesn't answer any questions for me. You know what I mean? Like, the answer I gave, the reason I like it isn't just because it's what I like or whatever, but because it explains everything about this place. Alright, fine, whatever. We'll do this the hard way. Come here. God dang it. Got a little too close to that guy. Yeah, those enemies are back from Ocarina. They're simultaneously more and less irritating this time. Also, one of the things I like about this dungeon, you'll notice... God damn it. Die. Just die. They're really an irritating enemy. They basically just run from you until you stand there doing nothing. Then they attack you. One of the things I like about this dungeon is if you're paying attention, we used to be like right over there. In fact, we can literally see where we just were. Right over there. The only thing separating us from it is a wall of ice. This is, in my opinion, one of the better usages of the item of the dungeon to unlock moving through it. Well, obviously that's been a thing since forever, all the way back in LTTP. In here, it really opens up the dungeon as soon as you get the dungeon item. A lot. Anyways. What am I doing? Right. I am stopping being a wolf. Good soup. Yeah, he's fine. Now Midna, she's pretty cold. Like, she's not wearing anything. Oh yeah, speaking of which, even though this is obviously a puzzle item, note they have a whole system of delivering cannonballs to and fro. Oh yeah, as an aside, you'll notice this also uses the philosophies of both the Forest Temple and the Fire Temple combined. Just adding that. That is to say, each room connects with each other, and each room is its own separate puzzle to solve. What I like is the cannonballs there after you shoot it. Something about that amuses me. I don't remember where I'm supposed to go next. Okay. He's there. That's there. There's a fun room. Notice they even use the hockey puck sound effect when they're bouncing around. This is an armory, by the way. Just continuing to point out the military thing going on here. God dang it. Dang it. Well, if you really want to die, then I will kill you. I didn't want to kill them, guys. You saw it. I wanted to live and let live, but no. Yeah. Listen, Tara. Nobody needs guns, okay? Guns just make the world a worse place. We all know this. So this room kind of sucks. I'll go ahead and be honest about that. Where are you? There you are. I thought that too, Nero's. I guess that's just the naturally suspicious nature of gamers. I know you're there. Stupid bats. That's why this room sucks, by the way. Stuff like that is why this room sucks, right there. And they respawn. So now that I've shown that off, let's not screw up unintentionally, shall we? Oh, speaking of which. But yeah, the room resets when you screw up, by the way. So that's fun. Forgive me because I'm a bit cautious here. So that's a fall off, so we don't want that. Just a second, Nightbot. I'm a little busy right now. Or that. God dang it. So that was not intentional. That was just me being a screw-up right there. Hi. Stupid thing. Yeah, no explanation for why this is a bottomless pit, by the way. It's just a bottomless pit for some reason. Just don't question it. It leads off the edge of the mountain, maybe. I don't know. I hate this room. Oh, probably, Alex. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if that's kind of the point, for lack of a better way to put it. I mean, I sincerely doubt they have the knowledge of architecture and repairs to really maintain the rest of the fortress. I'm not even sure they care. would they? Now, this is a minor thing to point out, but you notice the ball-bearing, cannonballs do actually remember where you left them. So you do have to kind of keep track of that. There's also several spares. You only really need, I think, 3 total in the whole dungeon, and there's something like 8 or 9, just to make sure. Hey, buddy. I deserve that. Alright, how many of you were stuck on this boss for a really long time? Armored Lizalfos, just what the world needed. Wrong button. Oh god, I don't even have it equipped, do I? Let's fix that really quick. There we go. Or, no, that's cool too. I was just curious if that attack would work. I've never actually tried it. That's strange. So this is just me demonstrating you can get inside his swing radius. Although it's a little finicky. He also can spin very quickly. Yeah, it's like an LTTP shooter. Thankfully, that's pretty much the only armored Lizalfos we fight, so... This is in many ways my favorite weapon in this game. Mostly because it's just absolutely ridiculous. And actually stays useful outside of this dungeon. To wit. Actually, we just put... Now let's do this. This actually gets even funnier if you put on the boots. Don't mind me, just doing my afternoon exercise. Oh my god, how do I do this? Oh, oh yeah, and in case I don't mention it, someone else is probably going to. Yes, we get the ball and chain in the dungeon with the married couple. So there's actually a couple ways you can wield this weapon. You can actually throw it. But it's what you'd call an imprecise weapon. But this basically creates a wave of... This is basically a non-stop whirlwind effect, which is really useful. Ordon goat cheese. Food again? Yeah, I had a bad feeling about this. She didn't seem very sure of herself. Oh well, let's hold back and hope she has some other brilliant idea. I think I am going to give this story negative. Sorry, I've been debating that ever since the Arbiter's Grounds. You see what I mean, though? The moment we get this, the dungeon opens up completely. We can just go wherever now. Oh, God. So, let's check the score here, shall we? Alright. Story negative. Yeah, no kidding, Alex. How do I get to the local pharmacy? So first you go outside and you take 5 lefts and go right. Then you go 5 feet forward, and then there's going to be like a gas station. What gas station? No, it's just going to be a gas station. Well, what's the gas station? Huh? Yeah, the gas station next to the schoolyard. I mean, duh, weren't you listening? So yeah, this is a plus for the Arbiter's Ground and a plus for this dungeon. As I said, both are my favorite dungeons for a reason, and... And they're both just a treat. Every time I go back through this game, doing those 2 dungeons is just an absolute treat. I'm not often one to give out a plus for an individual dungeon, even in a Zelda game, but those 2 are heads above the rest, I think. Ugh. Okay. Ugh, go away. You're not helping. Ugh. Ugh. Hey, dude. Ugh. Needs more punch. What? Good smell. What you have? Jeez. Fling. A little more time on fire, it become gourmet soup. Here, taste. I like how he's so brusque, but polite at the same time. It's just a weird combination. Might as well get 2 while we're here. Superb Suit replenishes 8 hearts, which at this point would almost be a full heal for us. Smells good. I feel better when you drink this. Yeah, me too. Let's recover from that boss fight, shall we? Oh yeah, infinite supply, by the way. You can just refill however much you want here. So I'm gonna want this here. I think I need that for this dungeon. Yeah, we should be good with that. Okay. Granny soup is still better. I think I remember. We put key in nearby room, so no forgetting. How I forget. Embarrassing. So what do you think? Does she have no arms, or is she just wrapped up in a sleeveless sweater? It's there. It must be there. Okay, thanks. I've always thought she was wrapped up, but I know a friend who was like, what the hell? It doesn't help that she looks substantially different than her husband. Uh-oh, there's something in her way. Or is there? You're a dickwad, Mr. Grinch. You're nothing but in the way. Sorry, don't want to get sued. Look, her husband was just trying really hard to make sure she was safe, okay? It's not his fault that she needs her arms, or maybe doesn't at the moment, I don't know. They're so cute. And very dead. Yeti husband is not the husband we asked for, but the husband we need. Yeah, sure. Let's grab this really quick. Sweet. Oh, I totally could too, Alex. I'm kind of joking around, but the Yetis are just wonderfully... What's a good word? Wholesome. It's part of what really adds to the flavor of this dungeon. It's one of the reasons I love it so much. This is actually a pretty dangerous dungeon, and it is pretty easy to die here. Both bosses are actually quite tough, and there are several difficult rooms, as I've already demonstrated. And yet, there's just this wonderful, lighthearted, just, about this couple. And it completely disarms the overall tone of the dungeon. In a good way. In my opinion. Alright, so how many of you it took you a while to figure out how to do this? That would be cool, Dream Whisperer. I would like that. Sadly, to my knowledge, there has been no continuation of the Yeti people outside of this game. Oh, the music also adds to the tone I just mentioned, consequently. Think about it. This isn't a very, like, it would be very easy for us, for a snow dungeon to be, you know, cold and foreboding and terrifying or beatific. Instead, this is just kind of almost awkwardly light, you know? Like, you can almost see the composer just looking at you and shrugging like... I don't know how to explain it, but I do think the music adds to this place quite a bit. Probably one of the first places I would say that is true in this particular game. If it's not obvious, I'm actually not a big fan of most of the music in Twilight Princess. too much of it is a little bit too atmospheric for me. Oh, I forgot to... Let's do that really quick. And obviously there's the problem with the Twilight. That would actually be pretty cool, Alex. Who knows? We may still get that. Yeah, the music in Twilight Princess is basically all over the place. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I have troubles with it. Good evening, Mind Blast. Now that Mind Blast is here, I know it's time for my break. I can't believe that actually worked. I did that on purpose, and I still can't believe that worked. Hang on. So there's another puzzle I usually suck at. I didn't actually mean to do that, but that worked out, so I'm not complaining. Nope. Yeah, nope. There you go. We're gonna make a combined Nintendo-verse. And I would actually be completely in favor of that. Although, going forward, instead of, you know, trying to retcon things in, I think I've made it clear my opinion on trying to retcon things in awkwardly that were never intended to connect to each other. Final Fantasy. Oh, come on! Alright, fine, whatever. You know, it's funny, I just commented on how I'm going to suck at this dungeon. Or this puzzle. Here we are. That would be the NCU, the Nintendo Cinematic Universe. Now we're completely offset. The Thanos equivalent? It'd be someone new, obviously. No. That initial screw-up completely screwed up that attempt. Well, we'll see if the new one is actually properly done then, Alex, I suppose. Miyamoto! He's the true villain. I just think there should be no storytelling, characters, or continuity whatsoever. That would be a... You know what, I give up. This is just a heart piece anyways. But only then would it be truly balanced. I mean, I don't see why not Mind Blast. Hello, Star Wars. Oh no. Ah, I'm just kidding. We're fine. Who knew ice was weak to giant metal death? Also, funny fact, the ice physics don't affect you when you're carrying around the ball and chain. You can still be frozen if you're too slow. So, in yet another way, the weapon completely unlocks the dungeon, because you can just start ignoring ice physics. What are we up to now? I haven't even really been trying to get these, and we've been getting a few. No, we can make it happen. I know we can, Alex, because we've actually talked about it on stream before. I still have notes for the NCU. Alright, so now that we've unlocked the way back up. I'm trying to remember what I need to do next. I did that. Hang on, where's the map? What haven't I done? It's a cool concept, at least I think it is. Oh yeah, I know, Shadow Machine. In fact, they've already killed Ragnaros and Onyxia at this point. Excuse me. I just really hate chunks of armor, okay? Really, really hate them. Excellent, Bloody. You are... awesome, I guess. Forgiven? Acquitted? I don't know. Something good happens. Other than having cookies. God dang it, do I actually have to get this one up here? I'm gonna have to, aren't I? That is evil, Eric. That is actually messed up. What the hell, man? I should probably deal with that guy. I mean, you already saw the idea they were positing about giving you level boosts for completing stuff in Classic, right? Which is not codified, it's worth noting. That is not an official thing yet, but would also be a deliciously evil thing if they do it. Yeah, so there used to be this thing called the Miiverse. It was this really awesome thing, Alex, and that's why it's gone forever. Any questions? One moment. I need to switch over. I'm gonna laugh if this really is just a heart piece and I'm just in the wrong section of this dungeon entirely. There we go. I may have taken too long in trying to get unlocked onto things, so I may be about to fail this jump for the 57th time. There we go. Heart piece. Called it. What am I missing? I haven't gotten that, which I could go do. I haven't gotten that. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. And then the Chew attacks. Just out of nowhere. This way, I guess. Excuse me. Oh yeah, several people have asked several times why 5 heart piece instead of 4. I have no idea. I think this is one of the only Zeldas that does that. By which I know it's one of the only Zeldas that does that. What I do not know is if there's another one that does it. Okay, so here's the hard puzzle. Let's see if I can remember how to do this one. Okay. How do I get the third one there? Let's just screw around for a bit, see what happens. I can't either, Alex, but, I mean, there's a lot of Zeldas. I will probably end up looking this puzzle up, by the way, just as a heads up. My friend Gary was stuck at this puzzle for, God, 15, 20 minutes, something like that. He was sick at the time, so I'm not holding that against him. It's just this puzzle. What's the idea, Tara? Okay, so then we move... It's okay, Sonic Doctor. I know you secretly hate me. I'm not sure why, but I know it's true. Yeah, so there's this thing called the CDI, and then the devil, as in the actual devil, entered the world and said, "Behold, I shall manifest in a video game!" And so he made the CDI Zelda games. I'm obviously being facetious, but they are just... Oh, they're many levels of bad. It's hard to properly summarize how bad they are. You know, there's meme bad, right? Like, oh, Phantom Menace is the worst movie ever made. And then there's, you know, bad but still a classic for some strange reason. And then there's just god-awful, and the CDI games fall in that final category of just terrible. Just absolutely abysmal. Yeah, now I'm stuck. Oh wait, no I'm not. I am not stuck. Because physics. I was just thinking to myself, this couldn't possibly work. Obviously, it's just gonna... If I leave that block out there by itself, it'll just slide when I run into it. But that's not how that works, so... Ta-da! By the way, you'll notice how the overall dungeon size isn't actually shrinking. And I only mention that because many people have said over the years that the dungeons get shorter as the game goes on. I actually mentioned that idea earlier myself. But, it's not really true. No, what happens is the space in between dungeons gets shorter. I mean, think about how much time passed in between Dungeon 2 and 3. Now think about how little time passed in between Dungeon 3 and 4. And that time will be shrinking each successive game. I'll just go ahead and spoil that for you. For each successive dungeon, not each successive game. Oh, come on! That's not my hookshot. That's the shortcut, by the way. You'll notice a lot of the shortcut things are basically unlocking hookshot slots. With the ball and chain. Which is good, because I almost fell over just there. Seriously, if you're asking, like, why the CDI games exist, I've never actually looked into it. So I can't speak to that. Once upon a time, someone sat down and said, you know what? I want to make a really crappy video game. Like, just the worst video game. I've played E.T. and, by golly, I can do that. I actually sometimes wonder how many developers walk into game development thinking, I'm going to make a crap game. I imagine it's not a large list of people that would follow that mentality. Although there's probably quite a few who are just thinking, eh. You know, in short, it's a Tuesday. We did get some good memes, my boy. My personal favorite. So you remember how I mentioned... You see what I mean by the density of this place, by the way? Even though I got a little stuck on getting the heart piece earlier. This is still a decent density of activity. Peter Molyneux is just a con artist. There's a difference. I have never actually played the CDI games. Sorry, let me make that very clear. Oh yeah, by the way, you could do the puzzles by knocking them with the ball and chain instead of pushing them. Just thought I'd toss that out there. You know what? I don't like this table. Remember this room? You see what I mean, right? So, if all goes according to plan, then I will drop that bomb on my face. But yes, it will. See how the bomb... Remember how I mentioned earlier it actually remembers where the cannonballs are? It's very important for puzzles like that one. Actually, now that I think about it, maybe I have played a little bit of it, but I know I've never actually beaten the CDI Zeldas, because I've never owned a CDI myself. Alright, so... And there's the shortcut back up here. You notice how almost every single room we unlock something? Love this dungeon. Even when I feel lost, I'm not lost. Now, all of this, everything we've been doing, has all been about one thing. You'll notice this one's deliberately at an angle, just to kind of emphasize this, too. So all we want is to take out that guy. Now, if you're paying attention, we have had access to him for a while, but he's at the top of a ladder. So there's functionally no way. You see the ladder right there? There's functionally no way to actually take him out without just getting frozen by him. So all of this has just been to remove that one obstacle. And there we go. Excuse me. Yeah, okay, sure, fine, whatever. So it's basically boss time. Now, how many of you have never played this game? And for those of you who have never played this game, what do you think this boss is going to be? It's obviously going to be some kind of ice monster, right? But, like, what direction do you think they're going in with the boss? Oh my god! It's the annoying enemies! There's better ways to do this. I'm just kind of blitzing here. We all know Berserker strats are the best, right? Welcome back, Zanman. The bedroom key! Friggin' time. Finally found the key. That sure took a while, but that mirror shard is as good as ours. I don't know, Geludo. I've pondered that myself. Oh, hey! Oh, you're safe. How did you get up here? You literally have to climb a ladder to get up here. I drink husband's soup. Feel much better. Oh. So I come find you. You found key. Oh, good, good. Bedroom right above us. I take you there. She's so cute. Look at her. Platy, this is you, by the way. If we ever do a thing, you're voicing her. I just want you to know that. Yeah, she can teleport. So this is what happened with the Sheikah. Actually, no, we will cover what happened with the Sheikah later, when we go to the Sheikah village. Yeah, did you know the Sheikah have a village in this game? It's almost completely abandoned. Which means they still could have been the Twilight. That's not out of bounds. Oh yeah, to continue with the whole symbolism thing, notice how the heart is the door lock here? Yeah, that's the one, Wilson. Just kind of giving you a shot of the whole village here. Or fortress, rather. Oh my god, she's still coming. It's kind of hanging out. I'm going to go ahead and put this here while we're thinking about it. I'm going to go and put that one there, actually, just in case. Actually, let's go ahead and do this. There we go. 1,000,000 years later. This is why this happened so long after Ocarina of Time. They had to wait for her. This is bedroom. So, symbolism! They really like the symbolism here, don't they? Thank you. You come inside. Oh. Excuse me. So this is the boss room. Here, mirror. You look at it, huh? So pretty. Notice that her face is blackened, but not her reflection. See the face? Twilight Ice Mass. Blizzetta. Whoops, that's the wrong button. Whatever, I needed it anyways. As usual, Phase 1 is mostly about teaching you the base mechanics. Whoops. Phase 2 is when the actual fight starts. By the way, this is a good insight into what Twilight energy or Twilight magic does to normal people. So now, this is actually really cool, I think. We actually only really see her in the reflection in the ground. And the camera stays facing down, and we have to aim and fight based on said reflection. It's a cool little thing. Yetis, people, what's the difference? We'll be seeing what the Twilight stuff does to other creatures later. Also, literal prison of ice. Also, notice how those pieces draw parts, too. Because, boss design. Did you know every boss in this game has a different boss song for it? Usually they're just motifs, or variants on the same motif, but I just thought I'd mention that. She just ruined her bedroom. Yeah, I'll take that, thanks. Actually, my first thought was thinking, I don't want to touch that thing! It's okay. Triforce of Courage. And she's the Triforce of Wisdom, so we're cool. We're cool. Still, I feel bad about the way we treated that girl. To think the Mirror of Twilight has the power to change people like that. This world, all worlds, can be cruel. Oh yeah. We have to collect the other pieces before more innocent creatures have to endure the suffering that poor girl did. Yeah, hang on. You notice there's no heart piece yet. Now the real boss fight! That would be horrible, wouldn't it? What's wrong with me? Very strange. You just dreaming. Ugh. Yeto, mirror you gave. Forget mirror, Yetta. No, look into eyes of Yeto. They are very terrifying. Look in reflection of Yeto's eyes. There, true beauty. Who need mirror? I was. Let me go grab that real quick. Damn it, Chikor. Yes. That is very cute. Alright, Minda, what do you think the next place we should go to is? She's not going to say. Oh, that's strange. Well, why don't we... Let's head to Telma's bar. That's usually a good move, right? That's a good idea. We have to meet Terra's favorite character, after all. I actually don't remember that letter. Hang on, let's check that one. Oh yeah, the bombs. That was earlier. I don't remember this one. Agatha had a dream last night. Butterflies surrounded Agatha and lifted her up to the sky. As she waved to the people below in Castletown, she could see so many people. Some waving back, others stared wide-eyed. Agatha flew in big circles around Hyrule Field, and the butterflies formed into a bed beneath her and said, "Let's play again." Soon they faded away, and she woke up in her own bed. Agatha wants so badly to fly in the sky. Poor Agatha. I feel bad. You paid me visit. I not much help. I feel better now. Husband and I sled lots now. Very much fun. You join us in Snowpeak sometime. Yeah, so that's the sledding minigame, which is much harder than what we just did. It just stops us in our tracks, Lavity. Hey! I should come through as a wolf. Whatever. Terra, don't stab poor Agatha. Hey, that postman, he takes his job seriously, Chikor. Very seriously. You know, one thing I've never seen any fiction do is have, like, a deity of mail. As in letters, communication, you know? What's your portfolio? I can get messages from person to person. That doesn't sound very useful. Uh-huh. No, Hermes doesn't count. He sucks. And I sawed his leg off. How's Ilya doing? Right. Oh, hey, he's here now. Say, Link, you're alive and well. Did you find anything interesting at the Arbiter's ground? The sages once served the royal family, actually. They were appointed as tutors to the young Princess Zelda. It was from them I first heard tales of the accursed mirror. And how were you old enough to know that, sir? Do you care about the sky beings? No. Link, huh? Beast of Snowpeak hasn't appeared in Zora's domain since the last visit. In the end, the troubles in Hyrule and events in Snowpeak were beyond even my imagination. Honestly, there's got to be someone who knows what really happened. Nah! Look, it's fine, Wilson, it's fine. Don't worry about it. We don't have frostbite, and we're not hallucinating as we slowly freeze to death in the Snowpeak Ruins. That's the real Link is dead theory. Link died during the Snowpeak dungeon. Oh, that's true. We did have soup, though. Now I'm thinking of like a Frostpunk Zelda crossover. Oh, the mailman? Oh, he's just invincible. He just can do that. Hey, not dad. Been a while since we took a walk in the forest, huh? Look at our world has changed. Telling you, that's the Deku Tree. Look at it! Look at it! I think at least part of the reason I think it's the Deku Tree is in this version you can really see how big the thing is. Or I guess they are. Hey, Revenstig. Happy birthday. Or I guess happy birthday from yesterday. But either way, it is another year in which you have not yet lost. Congratulations, sir. Did you know about the far side of this deep gorge? Some say there's an ancient temple deep in the woods that guards a sacred power. The ancestors of the Hylians created the temple. Signs of their civilization, ancient but very sophisticated, are everywhere. If someone could obtain the power of those ancient people, well, I'm sure it'd go a long way towards saving Hyrule. Link, you should go obtain the power of the Temple of Time. What? What do you... Do you doubt my partner's skills? He flies like a dream, believe me. Oh, you'll definitely make it across. If you remember last time we used Midna here, which is funny because there's no reason we can't use Midna again, but you know, whatever. So I'm gonna need this. And I'm probably gonna need this. Let's actually swap those. Shut up, you stupid bird. I don't need that. We'll leave that. We'll leave that slot open. Here. Stay here for a second. Notice how it's more damage than it was last time. This whole area, I mean. Come here, Kuko. Also, the ropes are gone, so you have to hover across, or use Midna. No, wrong color, Shikor, wrong color. Although that is a funny thought. That would be hysterical. Kojiro lives on, and the golden Kuko. Alright, Skull Kid. Round 2. All in favor of killing the hell out of Skull Kid. I mean, he was kind of a pain in Majora's. I like how we actually hit him several times, and his reaction is just, eh. I mean, he is a classical version of an imp, after all. So this time through, you don't have the audio to help you. You have the lamp that he's wielding. And I do like that they varied it up, personally. Gotta peek through. I don't see a lamp there. Peek through, don't see a lamp. Aha! I see a lamp when I peek through. I like that they bothered with that. Not only to vary it up, but to, you know, have a hint as to where you're supposed to go. Oh, on. There we go. And of course, as he goes, he opens up more passageways. By the way, look at how very little time is passing in between dungeons, like I mentioned earlier. We just finished the last dungeon, and we're probably about 5 minutes from the next one. Is he this way? He is this way. Nope. Although it's worth noting, if you do get turned around here, you will get really turned around. There's just, other than just knowing where you're going, there's not a lot of ways to re-find your path. At least from memory. Maybe they changed that. Yes, by the way, if you're paying attention, we have actually been through this room before. And I don't just mean the last time we went through here, like this most recent time. Oops, wrong button. Gotta go through the pattern to find him. We're playing a game. Probably not Hector Anthem. I have no personal interest in it, and I don't own Netflix. No, I think he really is just playing a game, Shikor. Just having fun, you know. It's that classic fairy concept, where things that should otherwise be considered malicious kinda aren't because of how weird and different they are. Even though this could literally kill us, I don't think that's even in his mind, really. Yeah, he doesn't have his fairies, he doesn't have his giants, he doesn't have anyone. Poor guy. Don't you feel bad for Skull Kid, guys? Especially since I keep shooting him in the face. You're actually supposed to kill the ads here, but since I can aim so quickly, I can usually avoid doing so. Just use some AoE attacks and bulldoze them down. Unfortunately, you can also get surrounded, which can literally interrupt your aim. Fine. We'll do it the intended way once. Yeah, I like how he's not possessed by Majora, but he has Majora's eyes. I've heard people theorize about that. That was fun. Tell you what, I'll let you into a secret place. Thanks, Golgood. But yeah, I've heard people theorize that because he has Majora's eyes, he's, you know, still possessed by Majora, or he's been scarred by Majora, or, you know, whatever, basically. So, first and foremost, we're going to open up the shortcut to get up here. Very important. Because otherwise, this sucks. We could have just walked up the other way, but no. The sacred ancient forest. So this is what they were talking about. Yeah. It's a nice place. There he is. A snail! Woo! And that is when we're going to go ahead and pause for our first break of the day. And by first, I mean only. So, back in about an hour.